Money Arata. Watch out, they are stealing your money. At this very moment, you're being stolen in a way that you do not even realize. And it happens without the money in your wallet disappearing, without your bank account changing. And we're not here talking about taxes. I know that there are some people out there who love to say taxation is theft. But we are here talking about another thief: inflation and devaluation of money. Inflation is a silent thief that takes away your future, leaving you poorer by the day. Inflation is the perfect crime since your money is not directly stolen. It is indirect, since your buying power reduces while your bank account stays the same. See, if you had plans to buy a house which cost 1 million, and you spent years getting that money together to achieve your dream, well, now you would be surprised when you go to buy that house and see that it now costs 1.5 million. And that is why inflation is the biggest threat to your future. And it's also because of this that one of the biggest learning experiences that you can have in the finance world is to know how to protect your money from this silent thief. This is not financial advice. Please read the full disclaimer before proceeding. Immediately stop believing that your life depends on the official inflation rate. This simple mistake could cost you a huge fortune. Some people make future plans using spreadsheets, and they make personal adjustments using official inflation rates, such as the CPI. And this mistake ends up costing a lot of money, as these rates do not accurately reflect your life. We're going to explain this in a very easy way to understand. You have certainly noticed that your money loses its purchasing power over time. Imagine someone who goes to the supermarket today with a 100 bill. Whatever that person is able to buy at the shop with this money is a lot less than what they would be able to buy with the same amount 5 or 10 years ago. And this happens because of inflation. Think about it in this way: the price of products, the price of services inflate over time due to a number of factors. And because of this, the money that you had before can no longer buy the same amount of products or services that you used to buy before the prices inflated. Inflation does not occur at a steady rate. Each product, each service has a specific price variation. In the same period, maybe the price of eggs could increase 5%. University course fees could increase 10%. And a laptop could even decrease 2%. And to make this more simple, economists created indexes to get a general average of inflation. And these indexes determine how much a group, a basket of products or services vary in price over a certain period of time. Now, the problem is that these official inflation rates can be incorrect according to your specific reality. If the products or the services which you are used to purchasing are very different from the ones that are being analyzed in the inflation rates, well, you may think that the level of inflation announced in the press is incorrect. Let's just give you an illustrative example. Imagine an inflation index which includes the price of meat, rent, and gasoline, petrol. Now imagine that you are a vegetarian, that you own your own house, and that you only use your bicycle for transportation. In this case, the inflation rate is not going to actually reflect the price variation according to your reality. And this is why sometimes you are shocked when the news states that the official inflation rate is stable. But in your reality, your costs are increasing every month. Your future plans should take into consideration the inflation rate that reflects your reality. Almost all official inflation rates are calculated based on the average person. There is nothing wrong with this, well, as long as you are lucky enough to fit this average person's profile perfectly. However, if you are seeking financial independence, you need to understand that the official inflation rate is not good enough. The official inflation rate does not reflect those that are on their way to financial abundance. See, someone who is on their way to financial prosperity earns more than the minimum amount payable for the basket of basic goods and services that are analyzed in the inflation rate. See, for example, that basic consumption is food, shelter, electricity, transportation. Basic consumption is this minimum to survive. However, financial abundance is when you are able to pay all of these basic necessities, but you dedicate actually most of your monthly salary to what would be considered luxury products or services. For example, access to the best private health clinics in the region, or being able to pay for an online postgraduate course from the best university in the world. Investments are also subject to inflation, and you can see the asset prices also rising. Stocks of well-established companies, the real estate in the best areas of big cities. If you want access to the best products and services and investments, you need to understand that you will find price increases that are much higher than the basic increase that is seen in the inflation rates. All of these products and services have a specific inflation rate, which is very different from the average inflation rate that is seen in the official indexes. That is why you need to know what the specific inflation rate is in order for you to truly become wealthy. Understand how inflation works in order to protect your wealth. We have already seen that the price of products and services inflates over time. But have you ever wondered why it happens? Well, the answer lies in the classic law of supply and demand. Let's look at a simplified example for you to understand. Imagine a small island which has 1 million coins in circulation. And now imagine that the farmers on the island had a very good year and they were able to put many more products on the market. Now that there is a higher offer of products, there is also more competition. If a strawberry salesman wants to charge a lot, he's not going to be able to, because there will be someone else selling strawberries for a much lower price. Due to this, when there is more of a product, and if the demand remains the same, prices tend to fall. The opposite also happens. As long as the amount of coins in circulation stays the same and the product supply falls, the prices increase. Imagine that our imaginary island suffered a plague, and now there are not many strawberries for sale on the market. In this case, the strawberry salesman could charge a lot more because there is not a lot of competition. Even if you say that the strawberry seller is not a greedy person, well, there will be buyers who will be offering more money to get access to the strawberries. So the increase in price is not a sole decision made by the seller. The consumer market is also a force that drives the prices up. The relationship between supply and demand also happens with the coins in circulation. When the government needs more revenue, there are two main options. They can either increase taxes or they can increase the money supply. Since increasing taxes is not a very popular method, governments prefer to print more money. When there is a higher supply of money and the consumption does not match this increase, the excess currency in the market naturally loses value. Your purchasing power decreases. In practice, you become poorer, even though the amount that you have in your bank account stays the same. Of course, this loss of purchasing power is not the same for all products, all services. The supply and demand for each product and each service is what will determine the specific inflation in each case. Even if the official inflation rate says that the prices increased by 2% in a certain month, this does not mean that all the goods that you're used to buying will have increased by this very same amount as well. Inflation is not the same for everyone. Learn how to calculate how increasing prices affects your plans. The most important thing that you need to understand in order to protect your future is that inflation is a phenomenon that happens in a non-uniform way. Inflation in a certain region starts with some types of products, firstly in different amounts, and then it spreads out to other types of products also in different amounts. So you need to realize that when the news publishes a certain inflation rate, it is probably not the inflation that affects you. That is why you need to educate yourself, to start to financially educate yourself to know what to do about all of this. In order to find out what inflation affects you, it is not necessary to do complex calculations and know exactly by what percentage each product, each service that you consume has increased or even decreased. Instead, you just have to have minimal control over your finances and make comparisons from time to time. For example, you could compare how much rent you pay today with how much you paid last year. How much you spend on filling up your car today to how much you spent last month. How much you spend in a supermarket on average, and how much you used to spend 2 or 3 months ago. With these simple calculations and these comparisons, you will clearly notice how inflation is affecting your money's purchasing power. And then you can use your financial intelligence to protect your wealth from inflation, which is this silent money thief. Some options are scarce assets, such as well-located real estate, gold, fast-growing stocks, commodities, and crypto assets. But you need to dominate each of these assets to be able to invest well. And for that, the knowledge that you gain in conversations like this is essential. Inflation is a silent thief, which threatens your future and takes away your purchasing power even when you think that your wealth is growing steadily. Whenever there is increased demand for a product or a service, its price increases. Whenever there is an increased amount of money in circulation at a greater rate than the production, your money loses value. The official inflation rates only serve as a generic parameter, and if you want to protect your future, you need to understand how the price of products and services that are used to buying are varying over time. And with this understanding, you can finally protect your wealth from inflation by investing in assets that give a higher return than your specific inflation. And to do this, of course, you need to learn how. That is why I invite you to take a look at Arata Academy's Financial Enrichment course, and you can watch a special class from the Truly Wealthy course on financial taboos by visiting arata.se/trulywealthy.